All right, only the finest garbage, as you know. We wouldn't be caught dead serving garbage. If that makes sense. Anyways, we're moving on. First whiff is something that you shared in about 4 words, and then I expanded on. But
Yeah. Yeah.
German spy agency
Appreciate
brands
you.
far-right AfD as extremists, opens way for closer surveillance. Obviously, everyone's mind on the ever-divisive internet goes right to, like, maybe them being banned, or, like, is this, like, you know, not is it a good decision, but, like, does this impede on their freedom or whatever? I'm sure you feel the same way. Um, but I don't know.
So,
Oh yeah, go ahead. You shared this. Give me
oh, I
your.
didn't know if you wanted me to.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
could.
so they this is something that opens the door to them potentially being banned, which is
Right.
why I think that's sort of how I caught wind of it. Because honestly, I sort
Mm-hmm.
of read a headline, threw that in the document, and then meant to read more about it later, but then you just got there
Yeah, but we're
before I
here.
did. So,
Yeah, but we're here. We're here. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so the AfD was branded as extremist in Germany, which notably they got 24% of the vote in their last election. So it's a fairly big party.
It is. I've
So
seen,
this,
like, this map where it's like old Eastern Germany, which is interesting. I don't know what to make of that at all, but a lot of their votes come from old Eastern Germany. Am I saying that right? Yes. Okay.
well, that's probably the more rural side.
Anyways, the old black and white internet, which is special needs in the way that it sees things.
Wow.
Of course we'll jump to, especially to get engagement, like banning or this or that, or words that will get people like, oh my gosh, like, what's happening here? But let's start with what actually happened, which is, and it's in the article here, an 1100 page experts report found the AfD to be a racist and anti-Muslim organization, a designation that allows the security services to recruit informants and intercept party communications, and which has revived calls for the party's ban. All right, forget about the party's ban part, but allows the security services to recruit informants and intercept party communications, knowing that they're not banned yet, right? Which I think if they did get banned, let's get off the top here. I think both of us would agree that that would probably, like, I wouldn't think that's a good thing. What would you think if they got banned? I would not think that's good.
No, I don't think. I think.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I think
No,
generally we're
that's
in
not
agreement
a.
there. But now let's talk about what actually happens, which allows some sort of security service. Now we don't know the context of what that means. Like, how much are they gonna, like, spy on them, this, that, whatever. But is that something a government should be allowed to do? If there's an objective labeling, and I'm just assuming there's an objective labeling of the racist and anti-Muslim accusations. Everything I've seen online, that's correct. But should a government have the ability to do that? I feel like on some degree on some level they should. No? What do you think? To be able to just, like, recruit informants and, like, intercept, which, by the way, governments always do that, right? It's not even a conspiracy. But
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly in the United States, I
I
don't
guess
think.
knowing that every government does, on what level do you feel like that should be okay for a government? I mean, I feel like that's I, I I feel like that's reasonable, but the libertarian in me is slapping my face. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. There's something a bit teeth grindy here about it because,
Right.
well, of course, even if you open the door to that, say the AfD gets power and now they're going to designate their opposition as extremists, and now they can.
Right.
I don't know. It just feels like unless you have a truly nonpartisan part of the government that is the security services, then
Yeah, and this is always what's bothered people, I think, about any, at least here in the States, any arm of the executive branch, whether it be the CIA or whatever, just do whatever they want, because you don't have to present any evidence or anything in, like, a court at all. You're just doing whatever you want based on, again, like you said, labels, which, I mean, they can be objective for sure, which I said, and I think they might be in this case. I think they are. But yeah, it's that in itself is problematic. It's like, well, we can do whatever we want based on, like, what we call you. It's like, wow, like, not really sure what goes into
yeah.
it. Yeah. So I think we kind of agree on that. It's like, I think every government probably does it, but you know, doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great.
It has to make sense, I think. I mean, because you just put it in the context of World War II, obviously, and what politics in Germany was like that led up to World War II. Um,
What do you mean? Wait,
well,
what?
if there was measures in place that could have prevented what happened happening, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I don't think
because he
something like this would have actually worked. It's so hard because there was such a storm with the depression and the world economy, and that also spurs right wing stuff. You know what I'm
sure.
saying? So it's so tricky. It's just so tricky. Um, I don't even want to think on a. I hope I didn't mean to like make us think on a World War II level. I just meant in general, like governments are gonna do this. It's gonna make all of us feel a little weird unless you're some sort of weird like. I don't even know, like authoritarian. But anybody who's not, it's gonna be like, no, this feels weird, but they all do it. And a lot of what I wrote here as we go along here is coming from the perspective of it felt like from everything I saw, and as you said, even what you wrote, there was a ban, which I would have had a lot stronger, different opinions on, but there isn't yet. Which, there's a yet,
Right.
but yeah. Let me bring this up too. There's another part of this article. Again, the internet can make you think like they're going to get banned and they're saying these people are bad. Other organizations classified as extremists in Germany already other organizations classified as extremists are neo-Nazi groups such as the NDP, Islamist groups including Islamic State, and far left ones as well, such as Marxist-Leninist Party of Germany. So
Sure.
this is something that parties have already been labeled. So many times it feels like it's in a vacuum where like, oh, you're just doing this to them. It's like, no, there's other things, is that how that hits you at all or no?
I mean, I think I'm fine with the surveillance.
We're coming back to that. I mean, so am I. It just depends on what level, right? You have to see the details. Both of us would say that.
Yeah. I think banning it is a bridge too far, because it doesn't seem like these other ones are banned either.
Banning the party? I agree. Oh no, I agree. True, because they're only classified as extremists. You're right. I don't know what that. You're right. But yeah, I think I wrote down here. We'll get to it yet, but like they're not banned yet. So I mean, they're just not. Well, we already said it too. They're not banned. So, I think there was a quote too. I don't think I saved that, but there was some quote from the last prime minister. Or how the fuck does it work in Germany? We don't know. Whoever the leader is, I'm a smooth brain. Whoever the leader in Germany was like, we shouldn't be so quick to ban parties. And Olaf Scholz, I feel like that's right. Let me see. It's in here. SPD's outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday called for careful evaluation and warned against rushing to outlaw the party, which is correct. I mean, none of this is like super pinpoint language, but yeah.
It just, I don't know. It's very. I feel like it's a tense thing considering Germany's past. So. And because they've been, 24%. They were the second largest party. That's pretty nuts.
No, I think there is.
It just
and I'm about
feels
to
like,
use this
okay,
wrong, but I think this is kind
Yeah.
of what you're saying too. I feel like, of course, there's always like a Streisand effect. Is that a thing where like you try to like
For sure.
once you
Yeah,
bring something
where you
up
try
or
and-
something, or like you like spotlight something, then people are just like, oh, like it drums up interest.
No,
Yeah, you know what I'm
it's
saying.
more along the lines of when you try and
Fuck
hide something, it brings more attention to it.
Yeah, it's something else, dude. I'm a smooth brain, folks, so keep that in mind. But there's
Sure.
some term. There's always a term for it. But yeah. Are you really achieving what you think you're going to achieve with the decisions that you're making? You got to be careful.
Sure.
Let's be clear, though. AfD sucks. It does. But
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm clear for me. You can be clear on whatever you want. I've heard your opinion on Arby's, so I'm not sure I respect a lot of them. But
Wow. Their fries are great.
I was actually just kidding because I hate Arby's, but
Well, but I wasn't kidding. Their fries are great.
the curly fries, please.
Yeah,
You
banging.
could always get better. Anyways, all right.
Oh, what are we doing? Who's the extremist now?
I'm
That's
trying to find
ridiculous.
this
That's a ridiculous
other.
opinion.
It's so true. All right. Trying to find this. The move follows other setbacks. Where the hell is that in this?
Of course, Elon Musk
here
has
we
to
go.
chime in too, which I love that.
The move follows other setbacks the far right across Europe has suffered in recent months as it seeks to translate surging support into power. They include a ban on France's Marine Le Pen contesting the 2027 presidential election after her embezzlement conviction. And I highlighted this because, like, there's no question. And I feel like I'm too plugged in. I'm actually regretting my decision-making day in, day out because I know too much about internet culture. Imagine that. But you just know that I am a smooth brain, but my fellow smooth brains out there were upset when she was like disqualified in a way that's like, oh, that's because they love to like lob back the like accusation of like, oh, you're killing democracy, right? It almost becomes like a plaything for both sides to kind of lob at each other, which is bad, by the way, and sucks. But when you ban her from running, it's easy to see the angle they can come from with, oh, you're destroying democracy, your side is the left now, and blah blah. But that's an embezzlement conviction by a jury of her peers, right? So that's not persecution, you would say, right? Like, I know that we can read that and feel a certain way. Even I do. And listen, I'm a leftist, and like, talk to me dirty about Lenin, I might agree with you on depending on what day it is. Sometimes Wednesdays. But again, even being who I am, it's just like, oh, you don't want to ban people from running, like that's tricky, but convicted by a jury of her peers, no?
Yeah, for sure. And
it's not the same for AfD. That's why I highlighted it too. Because AfD, it's like, what did they do? Besides have ideas. Again, ideas can be shitty, folks out there, right? They can be shitty, but they're still ideas. So,
I mean, this is kind of along the same vein as like banning COVID misinformation from
right,
Twitter during
shitty ideas.
Like, I just don't. How much does it? Well, sure. I'm saying if they right, shitty ideas, but
no,
if you
but
ban
they shouldn't.
it,
Right, we're on the same
feels like-
page. It's
yeah, yeah. Becomes more appealing for people who, I don't know, see themselves as on the fringe.
there is a little bit to be said about what rises up in pop culture and just culture in general, where it'll rise to a certain level if you don't shine a light on it. And that level might sometimes in history be high enough to actually make change and do things. But for the most part, as long as you don't shine that light on it, it'll peak and then it'll go away. It's shining a light on it that's the mistake. Does that make sense? It's like, you shouldn't have.
Sure.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tricky. Again, shitty ideas are shitty ideas, but that's
For sure.
and I've died on this hill in many conversations with you where it's like, but it's a human right to be able to vote and have ideas, even if they're shitty. So if that's winning the day, it's like, oh boy. Oh, and let me ask you this, because I thought about this. I didn't write it down when I was taking notes. Do we feel like shitty ideas ruled the day in America last November? Or do you feel, let me ask you specifically, do you feel like shitty ideas ruled the day in November?
Yeah, I would say so. Shitty discourse
How
too, but
does
for sure.
How does the non-shitty voice win that election? Is there a way? I don't even want you to go into detail. I'm just actually curious about your answer because I know you. Do you think there's a way to present the opposite non-shitty ideals and win that election? Because sometimes, let me give you a little more context, because sometimes I feel like there's such a strong anti-incumbent feeling that it's hard to overcome no matter what.
Sure.
Because, by the way, my answer is I don't think it's hard for me to see anybody, no matter who they were, even Bernie. Bernie, I think, maybe loses last year. Do you agree with that?
It's
hard to know, but
his messaging hits better, I think.
Of course it does.
Because he never fails to just appeal to what he believes is progressive populism, which a lot of those ideas sell,
Yeah.
apolitically.
Yeah, but Trump
So,
does similar things, and you know, of course, we don't think it's on some
yeah.
intellectual and like actual like you're gonna solve problems level, but it's on a level that people care about, enough people care about, and so it's political power.
I mean, the tough answer is that you have to get people to believe in institutions again. That's the real answer.
Yeah, but how do you do that? But
I
again,
don't know. Yeah, you can't do that without
again,
power,
you're right
right?
about that, but it all comes back to winning elections because if you don't, it doesn't matter. And so, like,
Well,
how do
correct.
you
Right.
right? So how do you do those things together? I don't know. Anyways, we can skip over it. This is where it gets a little scary. It's like, well, okay, well, I don't know. We're gonna be authoritarian in a minute here. Anyways,
I mean, to me, yeah. I mean, you're picking exactly at like this. There's like this vibe, this sentiment out there that is full of skepticism, anti-intellectualism,
yes.
anti-institution. Like there is this beating heart of everything about the institutions and the people in power
Yep.
are either they don't give a fuck about me or they are actively out to get me. That is the sentiment,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how you. I don't know. I don't know how you walk
So
that
first of
back.
all, I don't think either of us would say that the smart thing to do is fight that sentiment because I think both of us would agree that you can harbor that sentiment in a positive way and make positive change, right?
For sure. And also, I mean, not
Yeah.
for nothing, there are things that make that sentiment feel like it's true,
Of course. Of course. That's
right?
all
I
that
mean,
feeds into
healthcare is a
why
fucking
that
disaster in
feeds
this
into what I
country.
said too. But yes. Of course.
Right. So there it's not like there's nothing there, but it's
Right.
taken to such an extent where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it feels like people are almost anarchists.
In a way. In a way. This is why, what'll be really interesting? It'll be really interesting to see if the economy goes into a recession. If it does. And
Hmm.
and there's actual like material feel hurt. I would not argue that 2020 really was. I would argue you got to go back to 2008 to know what I'm talking about. We'll see if Trump can stand up and still have the same support. Because
He's not.
even Trump, I think, if you destroy the economy, you're not going to have support. Like it's not going to be a thing. So we'll see. All right, the next thing that I highlighted, yeah, you said it earlier a little bit about, and listen, if you buy a popular social media platform, you're going to have an opinion about everything. Banning the centrist AfD, Germany's most popular party, would be an extreme attack on democracy, said Musk on X. So let's break that down.
Twitter?
First of all, I didn't even
I think you meant
highlight
Twitter.
Germany's most popular party. They aren't. They literally were second most popular. It's just why? Like, why would you? Anyways. All right, banning the centrist AfD. Okay, second of all, banning. They're not banned. They're not banned. And then third of all, centrist AfD. Literally, I don't even think people that support AfD, a majority of them would say they're centrist. I don't think they would. So
Quick note.
just let me finish. I just get
Yeah.
so fucking tired of the dishonesty when it's so easy to like understand that you're just being an asshole. Why not just be honest? I think there's more people than you would think. And actually most, if not all people, would at least have their respect for Elon raised. Some people have it in the basement and would go to, I still fucking hate him, but higher than the basement. Everybody's respect would raise if he was just honest. And this goes for everybody. Like just be honest about what you feel. Just own it. When you just try to like bullshit, it feels to me like you know that what you're pushing is trash, and for some reason you have to warp it. Why do you feel like you have to warp it? Anyways, go ahead. What were you going to say? I hope I didn't make you lose your train of thought there.
Well, I mean, that's a constant for Trump too, right? Like there's always everything is a half truth and it's exaggerated, if not an outright lie. Everything is exaggerated slightly at the least.
And look, let me say really quickly, we appreciate that, like, no matter who you're a fan of, there's a little bit of exaggerating, a little bit of this and that. It's when you're so blatantly fucking out there just being like a bullshitter. Right. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, so you did get one piece wrong because he said banning the centrist AfD would be an extreme attack on democracy. So he's not claiming that they are currently
that's
banned.
fair.
But
That's fair.
you did
That's
miss
fair.
him saying Germany's most popular party, which they're objectively they're not. I
No,
mean,
they're
again, their
not.
most recent election, they were the second most voted for. So, yeah, it's yeah. Centrist AFD
Which again,
is wild though.
if
It almost
you're,
feels it's
yeah,
comical. Like it almost feels like trolling.
it's
You know what I mean?
100%. And again,
There's no world. There's
as someone who respects human rights so deeply and thinks that a human right is being able to vote, to pull on the levers of power wherever you live, I I'm torn between, like, of course I'm torn between how AFD is full of like shitty ideas and they're horrible and hateful, but also like if I believe, too many words there, but if I believe in the absolute human right to vote, but a majority of voters who it's their human right vote for someone like AFD, live by the sword, die by the sword, right? I guess I don't really.
Mm.
Tricky. But yeah, it's the centrist AFD. Come on now, just be honest, brother.
That's
Just
so
be
funny
honest.
to me. Because I mean, yeah, I think you would. You could ask probably most, and I think you said this, but all AFD supporters would not call themselves centrist. I think they would just be
No,
honest about
they
what
would.
it is.
I
But
bet
yeah,
you, like, I'm not gonna say a majority, but a good amount of them would be like offended. Would be like, no, 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 no. Like,
right,
if I
right.
wanted to be
Put some
centrist, I'll
respect on
just.
that name.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just people like Musk who try to like wash it through whatever filter to make it look a certain way. I'm not gonna say it's any
yeah.
specific
Yeah.
one or this or that, but it's definitely being washed through some filter because you're blatantly not telling the truth. So, anyways,
Hmm.
um,
And also, if you think for a minute that he doesn't show up on everybody's feed, like he's messed with Twitter in the background to where his shit comes across everybody's feed on Twitter. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, um,
He's making it so that everybody sees the shit that he's saying. So it just makes it all the worse when he's just
yeah. And look, smooth brains
being so
that would ever
dishonest
comment on
about.
this would be like, you can't prove that. It's like, okay, well, you do the math on someone who is absolutely fucking obsessed with themselves, obsessed with their image, and owns a
Yeah.
platform like this. Who's actually, it's been reported, will be fair, but still been like credibly reported that like he berated his engineers early on about like his own impressions and impact on his own site, and it was like, oh, I don't want to say nobody's saying he said boost me, but you do the math again. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, one last thing to end on this, to be banned as a party, which again, they were labeled extremists, but we talked about how there's other parties that already have that label in Germany. Which Marxist-Leninist, they're not extremists. They're just trying to send you to the Holy Land. Anyways,
Wow.
um,
Not an endorsement.
you do need
But-
proof to actually ban a party, and I don't know if there. I wonder if we could get a list of actual banned parties, but to actually ban, to go through with it, you do need proof that a party is trying to undermine the democracy, which I do think.
Sure.
Is the only way you could ban a party. The only way you could ban a party in a democracy is to say, if you try to overthrow the democracy itself, you can't do that. That can manifest itself in a bunch of different ways. But yeah. So that makes sense.
But sir, what if a majority of society chooses to overthrow democracy? Isn't that in a way democracy?
No, because
Think about it.
No.
Think about it.
I can easily answer all your questions. Just shoot them at me, baby. But for this one, no, because if a majority does overthrow the human right to have that vote and have that democracy, then that's incorrect. The only right way to be is to have a society that allows people to participate in the choosing of the direction of the country, whether that be directly or through people that represent them. That's it, bro.
But you do admit that if a majority of society chose to overthrow democracy, that in and of itself was a democratic choice.
Yes, but then that violates the totality
Sure,
of
no,
what
I
I'm
got
saying.
you.
No, we're together. No, you're right. I'm telling you, you're right. Because you wanted to see how I'd answer, and you're right. It would.
There you
It
go.
would be a democratically popular thing to do, choice-wise, but then it would violate the human right of everyone in that society.
Yeah.
Because
it's a
then
snake
you got to
eating its own
because
tail.
well,
It's a
and
snake
and
eating
let's
its
even be
own
more
tail.
fair. It is, but I'll even be more fair. Let's see what they come up with, because I'm not going to sit on my high horse here and say like I know all the right ways to govern. But it just should be that everyone does have that way to participate. So if you overthrow it, let's see. But most of the time it's bullshit and it's authoritarian and it takes away the right to. Anyways, I'm here.
There you go.
I'm here for the common man, the worker, for
We'd like to officially
democracies.
endorse democracy on this podcast. Officially endorsed.
Yeah, but
God bless.
True. But how you
Oh.
implement it and what it looks like obviously matters. No, things get nuanced. That's how life
Sure.
is. No. You're right. You're 100% right to endorse that. It's just beyond that. You know, Lukashenko would tell you that he's the president of a democracy. He's a scumbag. All right, like you got to be careful. Anyway, sorry.
Sure.
You know who that is?
Yeah,
Who's
I mean, he's just
Lukashenko?
lying.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's Belarus.
Oh God.
Belarusian
We're
president,
too plugged in.
right?
Yeah, you're correct. You're absolutely correct.